Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
I've decided to go with a book from a range we haven't visited before.
Oh, okay.
And it's a relatively recent book.
Okay.
It was originally published in January 2023, so it's been out for about 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
And Chris, your wish about perhaps listening to more of these has to be granted, because this is from the Big Finish audio novel range.
Oh, okay.
So we are going to be reading a second Doctor book called The Dead Star.
Okay.
Which is written by Kate Orman and read by Michael Troughton.
Oh, the Sainted Kate Orman. Excellent. Oh, cool. And this is a book I know next to nothing about.
And now our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. How's it going, Matt?
Well, it's a beautiful, chilly fall day, so that's a plus.
Mm-hmm.
How are things going with you?
Yeah, I did a 10k run this morning and went around various sites of London, including the exterior of Buckingham Palace. I was about to say Buckingham Palace, and then I suddenly thought people might think that I'd been hanging out with Charlie. I have not. So it was a nice day. It did not rain. Yes, but my legs are just advising me that possibly we don't do that again tomorrow.
Well, that is an exciting day. I'm watching two of my nieces this weekend, so they are out of the house and at a farmer's market enjoying breakfast while we record. So
Good.
I've got a little bit of book news to share. So we had mentioned in a previous episode that Alex Kingston was working on a Choose Your Own Adventure style book.
Yes.
And we have some more information about that. So it is called Storm Cage, a River Song Time Slip Adventure by Alex Kingston. And it is due out on February 12th.
Okay.
I'm doubting it's a crossover with the TV series Time Slip from the early 70s.
Yeah.
And it's probably not in black and white, although if there's illustrations, there might be.
Oh, okay. Yes. Intrigued, I have to say. I suspect that we probably won't end up reviewing it at any stage because it's going to be very hard for us to review a kind of choose your own adventure type thing. But
I'm still trying to figure out a way we can do that.
Yes.
I'm thinking about it.
Fair enough.
And then also, so last month in September, audiobook readings of all 8 Puffin Classics books across 2 volumes were released. So these are the 8 stories. I think the final one in this collection was Dracula, a First Doctor by Paul Mars. So the first 4 have been grouped together as Volume 1, Myths and Legends, and Volume 2 is titled Puffin Classics. So those are available from an audio perspective. And then, Chris, I think show and tell.
Yes.
What do you have for us this month?
Okay, what do I have? So I was debating. I was going to go for a safe one or a slightly non-safe one. I think I will go for the non-safe one. So, I say non-safe. It's an interesting story. Doctor Who magazine has had an article in a recent edition written by Mick Lewis of Combat Rock fame, in which he and Sylvester McCoy went to Kyiv. And it's an extraordinary bit of reportage talking about their journey across And it's a bit maybe more warts and all than kind of like I might have expected, because like it talks about their drinking and the fact that maybe they might have slightly embarrassed their Ukrainian guides who were, well, I say guides/guards, who were surprised by how tipsy that they were getting for their 12-hour journey across from Poland to Kyiv, but also kind of highlights the risks of their journey, but also of life there. And Mick also talks about the challenges of looking after Sylvester, so including that like alarms go off in their hotel at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they realise that Sylvester has not come down. And these are not kind of alarms for fire alarms; these are missile alarms. And yeah, it's just extraordinary, extraordinary article. And a lot of folks did not go out to Kyiv because apparently this convention tried to get quite a few people. But Sylvester McCoy did at the age of 80.
Wow.
And like, I mean, it's such an extraordinary thing to do. At that age, absolutely hats off to the guy. It's a great article. I have been conscious not to spoil it, but like there are various insights into what life is like there that I have not heard. And I have friends who've been going back and forth between places there and other countries. So yeah, really interesting read.
I have yet to read it, but
Not so Doctor Who-y, though there is a point where it says like standing up for what you think is right and being brave, surely that is the Doctor. And in his behaviour, he has absolutely shown that.
very cool. And
Yeah.
probably the most we will ever talk about Mick Lewis on this podcast.
Yeah, possibly so. We're a bit nervous of reading his books, but
My veto power is firmly in place for those, but yes.
yes, a veto power which, for the record, neither of us have ever used.
No, we have not.
Just in case there are people kind of like going, release the veto files. No, there have been no vetoed books. Anyway, sorry. What have you got?
Mine is I am currently wearing my Doctor Who TARDIS-inspired hockey jersey, which
wow.
was released by Geeky Jerseys. And listeners, apologies if I've used this as a show and tell before. I don't think I have, but
No, I don't think you have.
I have 103 episodes.
Yes.
But if I did
I think
this...
I've seen it.
Yeah, I've worn it to console room and stuff, but...
Yes, yeah.
I technically do have two different Doctor Who geeky jerseys, a TARDIS 2.0 and 4.0. So if I have mentioned it before, this is the 4.0 version. Don't ask me to articulate what exactly is different, but I think this one has the St. John's ambulance patches and the other one does not. But
Okay.
it's one of about a dozen different geeky jerseys I have. Other genres include Spider-Man, Captain America, Big Lebowski, She-Ra, and Legends of Zelda. And fun fact, Wendy Padbury at a Gallifrey 1 convention a few years back walked by me, noticed that the jersey number was 2, and Troughton was emblazoned across the back, which is also why I wore it for this month's discussion.
Yeah.
And she gave me a thumbs up from across the hotel bar.
Ah, lovely.
Incidentally, Wendy Padbury is one of the announced guests for Console Room in 2026 in January, along with Joe Martin. So
Cool.
do consider attending if you choose to set foot inside the United States.
Yes. Wendy Padbury has had a fascinating life, so I'm sure interviews with her would be interesting because away from acting, she became an agent and she saw a promising young man from Northampton, Matt Smith. Mm-hmm. I was kind of trying to think, how do I formulate a question about that when I saw her at the 50th on a panel and I chickened out.
And Janet Fielding was Paul McGann's agent, so there's a kind of a history
yes.
of companions representing doctors.
Yes. I think Wendy Padbury rejected somebody as well who went on to fame. But I won't say who I think it was in case I've got it wrong. But anyway, yes.
So this month we are, I was going to say we've read, but we've listened to
Yes.
The Dead Star.
Yes. Oh, sorry. One other little thing. If you're going to World Fantasy Con, which is in Brighton, Halloween / kind of the first weekend of November, and you see me wandering around, do please go along and say hi. because I will be there. I am not on any panels. I might be wandering around helping or whatnot, because there's also at 3 o'clock on Saturday is the Doctor Who panel, which I think I might want to attend as well.
I'm surprised you're not on that one.
I did not put myself down for anything, but it's got Una McCormack.
Oh.
And also, it's being moderated by S.J. Groningen, who I have met at Worldcon, who is an Australian-Scottish Doctor Who. I think they do a bit of writing for the Brigadier stuff, as well as, I think, some Big Finish. But but do come along and say hi if you see me around. Yeah, cool.
So this month, we have listened to The Dead Star by Kate Orman.
Yes.
So this is one of Big Finish's audio novels, so it's not available in a printed form. And this is the 4th of 9 audio novels released thus far, and there are at least 2 more planned available for pre-order at time of recording, and this was released in January of 2023. So what do we want to say about Kate Orman? I mean, she's Australian.
Yes.
This is her first Doctor Who novel in nearly 20 years.
Yep. This is also her first Second Doctor novel. She wrote Blue Box, which we have read before. She was, I think, the only female author for the New Adventures. And also, I think, the only Australian author for Virgin Publishing on the Doctor Who range. Yeah, extraordinary output. It's good to see her back.
Indeed.
So,
and this is kind of organized as like a Troughton 6-parter. And each part comes to about 65 minutes, and Michael Troughton, Patrick Troughton's son, is the narrator. And for bonus material, there's 20 minutes of interviews and about 12 minutes of music cues. So very similar to like some of our dramatic readings in terms of like effects. And I mean, Big Finish is obviously professional, so they're much better done. But, same sort of deal. And we'll be hearing, an excerpt later so folks can get a better understanding of what these might sound like if they haven't heard them before.
Yeah, the interviews, you've got Kate being interviewed, you've got Michael Troughton being interviewed.
David Richardson, I think.
Yeah, David Richardson, saying about how they pitched to Kate and sort of said, oh, could you? And she came up with an idea and they went, yes, please, let's do that.
So I think we'll go through the synopsis episode by episode.
Yes.
Starting with part 1. The TARDIS is caught in a time corridor and lands on Carnaby Street in 1968, which is 2 years ahead of when Ben and Polly are from 1966.
Do you know what Carnaby Street is?
I think, isn't that where in The Star Beast there was that cyber shop or whatever? They did some filming there.
No, that's Camden Market.
Oh, okay.
But Carnaby Street was the height of the British fashion industry, particularly the youth-orientated fashion industry in the 60s.
So like the mod movement.
And apparently if you went there, you would just see David Bowie or Mick Jagger stumbling out of a shop or something. And it was very trendy. It still trades off that now. And it's worth a visit if you find yourself in central London, but it is bang in the middle of central London.
So unfortunately, they didn't run into any of those people because the city is deserted. And so the Doctor, who's newly regenerated, and his companions, Ben and Polly, notice that the street is like at a 90-degree angle and various laws of physics have broken down. So I was picturing in my mind like, Doctor Strange style or Inception city bending type imagery.
Yes.
And the Doctor concludes that they have somehow found themselves trapped in a singularity, which is created by the TARDIS entering the time corridor. And without the constraints of the vortex around them, they're not going to be able to safely leave the city, which resembles kind of a dream landscape and is glowing or lit from within without a sun. And Ben and Polly feel like they're being watched by something in the sky and take shelter with the Doctor when a mountain-sized lopsided Big Ben sort of folds towards them.
Yes. It's very Inception, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The trio find themselves in another strange London, which the Doctor explains is a bubble which has taken the place of the last. So, like where they were before. And they go in search of what is being referred to as the pathological bubble. And this is going to allow the Doctor to figure out the singularity structure constants, like what it's causing it to form, etc. And this second bubble pops shortly after Ben and Polly find a TARDIS in Fitzroy Square. And the Doctor believes that that this is a copy and leads his companions into the underground, where they find the pathological bubble and experience a suspension of the laws of physics.
Is the Fitzroy Tavern in Fitzroy Square?
I think so. I don't know. I would not be surprised. Because I know it's a thing that you just find staggering. I've never knowingly been to the Fitzroy Tavern. Maybe this month. Who knows? But yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised if it is. It certainly feels like it could be a nod to it, couldn't it? But yeah, the laws of physics are being suspended, but the Doctor manages to get Ben and Polly out of this bubble after getting the measurements he needs by bouncing a rubber ball.
When the Doctor's bouncing the ball to take measurements when they're inside the distortion or the bubble, that reminded me for some reason of the Wrinkle in Time series by Madeleine L'Engle and being trapped in a tesseract.
And they go off to find the real TARDIS, because the one that they saw in Fitzroy Square is a copy. And the Doctor is calculating the stability of these various bubbles using an abacus on the way.
And I like to think it's the same abacus that Perry later wore on her belt.
Right. I was thinking, a war? An abacus? I mean, there were quite a few times where she didn't wear much, but yes.
Yeah, this whole first episode with just the TARDIS team exploring feels very evocative of the first part of the Web Planet or the first part of the Mind Robber or
yes.
Android Invasion, just kind of that stillness.
Yes.
And Ben is described as wearing a floral shirt, which made me think of the photo shoot that Michael Craze and Annika Wills did, I think out in a field in the early 1970s, perhaps for the Radio Times 10th anniversary special. I don't know if you...
Yes, I picture that. I wasn't picturing it when reading it, but yes.
So the bubble begins to fall apart and they reach Carnaby Street, but they manage to get into the TARDIS and dematerialize. And reasoning that the time corridor was likely created by scientists out of their depth and perhaps Earth could be in danger, the Doctor pilots the TARDIS down the corridor to find out where it leads, and they arrive at the London College of Natural Sciences. Not sure if that's a real place. In August of 1968. And there, the Doctor gets Polly and Ben jobs at... so Polly gets placed with Dr. Ann Fields as her secretary, and Ben becomes the chauffeur of the Chicxulub Club, which is a secret society. And Polly learns from Fields that she believes that there may be a 10th planet in the solar system, which is headed towards Earth. Not Mondas, and Polly does make that connection, which was appreciated. But Professor Christoffel of the Chicxulub Club does not accept her findings.
No. So the Doctor eavesdrops on Polly and Dr. Fields at lunch before asking to have a look at Fields' calculations and deducing that the approaching planet is actually a black hole.
So this, I think, would be a good place to listen to the promotional trailer that Big Finish released for this title. So this is the trailer that Big Finish has out on their website, which will give you hopefully a taster flavor of how these audiobooks are done with the effects and whatnot. So let's have a listen.
From Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, the audio novels, The Dead Star.
Polly and the Doctor walk through the deserted campus, past the brushed concrete buildings, heading for the tube station. The balmy summer evening was spiced with the smell of freshly mown lawns. "Doctor," said Polly, "if I ask Dr. Fields to tell me what a black hole is, she'll never stop telling me. So would you mind explaining it, preferably in words of one syllable?" The Doctor said, "Well, I'll try. You see, a black hole can be created when a very large star reaches the end of its lifespan and goes supernova. Now, a star is tremendously massive. Earth's sun weighs about an octillion tons. When a star's furnace goes out, there's nothing left to hold the star up against its own enormous weight. He mimed a ball with his hands, bringing them suddenly together. The dead star collapses in on itself, crushing all of its matter into a tiny space. His right hand became a tight fist. The closer you get to it, the more intensely you feel its gravity, until it's so powerful that nothing can escape its pull, not even light. That's why it's black, said Polly, a little bit awed. Out of the corner of her eye she saw a large dog crossing one of the lawns. When she turned her head, it was gone. She said, "So it sort of sucks everything in?" "Well, no. They're not vacuum cleaners," said the doctor, pleased with his joke. "They don't suck and they don't gulp. From a distance, the black hole's gravity is perfectly safe, just as if it was an ordinary star. But if you go back into the black hole, you can never come out again." Was that the dog again, passing behind them? Polly tried to concentrate. "Its funny orbit, it has something to do with the time corridor, doesn't it?" He nodded. "The time corridor is straight as a die. Dr. Fields thinks her Planet X is following an elongated elliptical orbit, like a comet. She doesn't have enough data yet to see the straight line." They were passing by the grandiose optics building. "But, Doctor, does that mean—" Between two columns, she caught a glimpse of that dog again. No, it wasn't a dog. An instant later, the thing skittered round the column, a thick body with multiple legs, staring at them menacingly with two black eyes. No, 4. 8? The shriek came out of Polly as though someone had pushed her down a flight of stairs. Now the monster was a hound bigger than she was, made of hundreds of small metallic parts all jumbled together, moving and changing in front of her eyes. "Oh dear, it's a robot!" exclaimed the doctor. All at once it was tumbling towards them, this collection of pieces of red rods and gold chains and jagged silver shapes, galloping across the grass so lightly it left no trace. But there was a parked car in its way, and it leapt onto it, crumpling the roof like foil. "Oh, my star!" shouted the doctor. Polly was frozen in place. The moment he grabbed her arm, she turned to run with him, even though the robot man-dog was racing down the road, only a few seconds behind them, only 1 second behind. It was on them.
Big Finish, for the love of stories.
Thank you, Michael Troughton, for performing that.
Yes, thank you very much. The Doctor and Polly are attacked by a shape-changing robot after leaving the College of Natural Sciences, and are saved by Ben, who is driving a limousine for the spectacularly named Professor Gero Scapinelli, and smashes into the robot before picking them both up.
And this robot I visualized as like, if you've seen the new Superman movie, the James Gunn, the architect character, and kind of like being made up of nanites, except it's completely robot.
Yes. Yeah, I think, that could work. Also, as well, potentially the other robot. I was thinking you were going to go for the Alan Tudyk and his other robots from that movie. But yes, Scapinelli gives Polly a glass tube filled with a blue liquid, the taste of which the Doctor recognises but cannot identify. Polly has been given this to use in an emergency, and the three of them are surprised by her lack of reaction to the robot. And they decide to go to the ecology department's offices whilst its members are all at a Chicxulub club meeting.
Their undercover mission here reminds me of like what the Seventh Doctor and Benny and Ace would get up to in the New Adventures, or like Rose and the Doctor going undercover in School Reunion a little bit. Very convenient that they can just get placed in these jobs in a matter of days. But maybe the Doctor has psychic paper or something.
Yeah, but I quite liked it. I quite liked this idea. But anyway.
And after finding a letter in Christophel's office mandating that Fields be denied access to technology, which helps her prove the existence of the black hole. So like getting time on like the telescopes and stuff. Polly's caught by Fields and hands the letter to her. And they're interrupted in their discussion of Christophel's knowledge, what Christoffel knows or doesn't know about the nature of this black hole that's descending towards the time corridor towards Earth, when this same robot tries to like smash into the room in the form of like an 8-legged spider. And Polly screams, and that takes us into our first cliffhanger.
Yeah. At the start of part 2, the robot knocks Polly over as it attacks Dr. Fields, causing Scapinelli's tube to smash.
And the vial that Polly has, it like breaks and like a drop of it falls on her, and she like becomes not enraged but like pumped full of adrenaline and like just in like a fight or flight response.
And so Polly gets superpowers, and she gets increased strength and destroys the robot by hitting it with a typewriter and tearing out its insides, which seems un-Polly, but hey-ho, but before throwing the robot out of the window, surprising the Doctor and Ben and the listener. And the Doctor identifies the liquid as a 21st century pneumatic gel, which gives its user the ability to fight by affecting their brain, and leaves with Ben asking Fields to ensure that Polly gets to her flat safely to rest. On the way, Polly convinces Fields to make her findings public so that she'll no longer be a target. But instead, Fields disappears in the crowd at a cafe, and Polly assumes that Fields has been kidnapped.
And one thing I did like about this section was that Polly was very keen on trying to track Dodo down 2 years into the future. Just to make sure that she was okay. So that was kind of a nice little aside.
Yes. I think she's unable to find her, isn't she?
Yeah, It's just more of a passing thought,
Throwaway.
but
Yes,
she's not.
yeah.
But yeah. So Ben drives Scapinelli back to Alderwhite House, which is the club's headquarters, and gets the feeling from a conversation about physics and the club's iridium rings that Scapinelli's actually from outer space. And iridium, of course, is it a compound or an element? I don't remember. It was found quite a bit in whatever hit the Earth 65 million years ago.
Yeah.
Wipe out the dinosaurs, so there's like an iridium layer in the soil. And I like the reference. There's a reference that Scapinelli makes where like, describing like the crater that hit Mexico, and they're like an asteroid or perhaps something else, as like an allusion to Adric and Earth shock.
Iridium is a chemical element.
Okay. So it is on.
Yes, it has atomic number 77. So bear that in mind for a very geeky pub quiz.
Well, this is going on with Ben. The Doctor uses a holographic system in the TARDIS to discover that the time corridor originates from the Kuiper Belt, which is Pluto is part of the Kuiper Belt, so it's not the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, but the one farther out, and that the black hole is following the path of the time corridor. And the Doctor gets some of Fields' students to help him build a muonic activator to find the exact location of the corridor's exit. And he activates it in Polly's flat. And this, I was like, is this Polly's flat from 1966 that she's sharing with her future self? Or is this, temporary quarters that she's... I was a little unclear on that. But Polly has an apartment in London. And... the remains of the robot that Polly destroyed earlier form a face, which identifies itself as Trim, an astronautic assistant built by the Outer System Company in 2064. So kind of around Zoe's time.
Yeah. Trim is destroyed again when the muonic activator malfunctions. So the Doctor, leaving Polly to sleep... and he should have learnt better about leaving companions to sleep in kind of 60s London, given Dodo. So the Doctor gets a lift from Ben to a party at Alderwhite House, which is the headquarters of the club. And Ben is told by Mrs. Berry, presumably not Mary Berry, to serve drinks at the party, and searches the house using a lockpick given to him by the Doctor. And he manages to find a laboratory, and he takes some photographs of it. And as he does so, he's caught by a pair of bodyguards Mr. Sage and Mr. Tanning, who are joined by a wolf-shaped robot before they fetch Scapinelli. And Scapinelli summons the rest of the club and discreetly gives Ben a tea cake, which gives him the knowledge to write out a complex formula on a blackboard. And so that allows Scapinelli to claim that Ben is not a spy, but is in fact an enthusiastic fan. So it's all getting a little bit odd.
Yeah, so the several different potions, and
Yes.
I had missed the part about Scapinelli slipping this into the tea cake because I was like, how did Ben all of a sudden get smart at math? And it felt very like Flowers for Algernon style, and
Yes.
but they have these different, potions, almost like in a Alice in Wonderland sort of way to get different powers temporarily. Which incidentally reminded me of another book by Donald Sobel, who created the Encyclopedia Brown series called The Amazing Powers of Asher Fine. So
Okay.
that's very obscure, but for the one or two listeners who have read that, they'll be like, oh yeah. So Christoffel writes out a formula which Ben understands to mean that something's going to smash into and destroy the Earth, an event which Ben is able to elaborate on, but he denies that the existence of black holes has been proven, which I guess in the 60s that we hadn't actually observed one yet. And when the effects of the tea cake wear off, Ben is unable to continue answering Christoffel's questions, and Christoffel orders the robot to attack him. But instead of pouncing, the robot breaks apart into flying pieces and covers Ben's face, leaving him to struggle to breathe, which, again, it was kind of like the nanite, because there was a similar scene in the Superman movie.
Yes.
And even though we're referring these two as parts, in the Big Finish, they're referred to as episodes, which aligns to what they... Well, no, I suppose at this point they were still individually titled.
No, that starts with the Savages. That ends with
yeah,
Savages.
that's right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay. So
yeah.
this is technically very correct in terms of how it refers to the episode titles, or the episode parts.
Is it? Because sometimes it's at some point of late 60s and 70s Who, I think it can be inconsistent. And I think, isn't the invasion just numbers? Or there's one story that is just numbers. But anyway, don't write to us. Yes. Before we kind of crack on, I was just thinking, this is the second book in a row in which a companion has been slightly bluffing or trying to get by with astronomical knowledge that they're not likely to have.
Oh, yeah, with Rose and
Yes.
Slithian and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So let's see if we can make it a hat trick with whatever I pick next.
So part 3/episode 3.
Yeah, so the Doctor manages to save Ben from the robot using his muonic activator. And they also destroy Mr. Tanning's gun with the activator. And so they drive away. And Mr. Sage chases after them in Scapinelli's car, though the car starts glowing with anti-colour and stops with Mr. Sage unmoving inside after he'd experimentally pressed a switch. And Ben stops the car, and the Doctor starts having a look at the frozen Mr. Sage, and he's joined in this by Scapinelli, who explains that the car's molecular structure has temporarily changed, and Scapinelli agrees to tell the Doctor everything tomorrow. However, the next day, the Doctor's unable to find Scapinelli and rides a rented motorcycle to Christoffel's cottage in Surrey.
And this whole anti-color stuff reminded me of another Second Doctor story we read, the novella Wonderland, which has like bursts of anti-color in that as well. Yeah. I just sort of picture like bad CSO from like the three doctors, is kind of what that color might look like. But so Christoffel explains that Scapinelli had vanished, and the club exists to identify and cover up possible extinction events, so society can continue unencumbered until the end of the world actually arrives. Which is an interesting way to base a secret club around.
Yes.
And when the Doctor goes to leave, Mrs. Christoffel attempts to shoot him with a rifle, and the Doctor flees on his motorcycle, pursued by Mr. and Mrs. Christoffel in their sports car. And he manages to escape, so there's a bit of a like a car chase sequence there.
Yeah.
And He manages to escape by boarding a moving train and collecting Ben before heading to the college where Polly is with Dr. Fields. And the reason she's out of the way is she's accepted a job at the head of a physics department at an American university and is no longer concerned about the black hole, as her calculations indicate it will not arrive for a century. The Doctor, however, knows that her calculations are wrong and that the black hole will arrive after sunset tomorrow. So they have less than 24 hours here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, let's just check in on what the black hole is up to. The black hole has just destroyed Mars and the various moons around Mars. So the Doctor thinks about using the TARDIS's dimensional stabilizer to pop the time corridor. But doing so would destroy the TARDIS and quite possibly a sizable part of southeast England as well.
And not only was Mars destroyed, but Jupiter gets knocked out of its orbit and gets flung into Ceres, which is a dwarf planet in the asteroid belt.
Yeah.
There's no way that Jupiter would be flung into Ceres in a matter of minutes, nor could the world scramble to launch observational rockets in a matter of hours. That, to me, is the most fantastical bit of this story.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about things happening at such a scale and distances. I mean, it would take a while. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Yeah. So at a coffee shop, Polly opens a parting gift from Dr. Fields and finds pieces of a robot inside the gift. These begin to take shape. So the Doctor arrives and he's got pieces of trim with him, and he takes these out. And so the two robots, so Trim and the robot pieces that Polly's been gifted, they kind of form an egg shape, which gives the location of the muonic array battery that's been powering them. And reasoning that the battery is likely in Scapinelli's possession, the Doctor heads there with Ben and Polly in the limousine. And as they're kind of driving along, they see people start to panic as the moon is torn apart, which would be alarming.
Especially because there's a dragon inside it.
Yes. And a Minnie crashes into the limousine, and so they have to continue their journey on foot.
And the reason that Dr. Fields got her job in America, I think, is because Scapinelli arranged for it to kind of get her out of the way. I think that's revealed at some point. So then the Doctor, Ben, and Polly reach an abandoned factory following their locator signal that has a spaceship inside. And looking for the time corridor's exit, they find Scapinelli with one of the robots. And Scapinelli has been trying to close the corridor without success, and the Doctor gets in the spaceship to try himself, after which Mr. Sage, one of the bodyguards, who I guess had been hiding in the limousine's boot or trunk all this time, kills Scapinelli. And the Doctor scares Mr. Sage by firing the spaceship's guns and says that there's only one hope of saving Earth. He runs back to the TARDIS with Ben and Polly, and they dematerialize, intending to travel back in time to stop the black hole's creation. But as they do so, the black hole threatens to swallow it. And that brings us to the end of part 3.
Yeah. So we are entering part 4. So the TARDIS is being menaced by a black hole, but the TARDIS manages to escape the black hole's gravity and travels along the time corridor to Montu Station in the Kuiper Belt at a time prior to the creation of the time corridor. And the Doctor, Ben and Polly meet an earlier version of Scapinelli, who in this timeline is presenting as a man.
And I was a little unclear about that, like
Yes.
if it was meant to be like someone who was transgender or if this was an alternate time. Like it was never really, unless I missed it, it was never like explained as to what was going on there.
I think there is an explanation. I can't quite remember what it is. I think that, I think there is a bit of a revelation later. But so the Dr. Ben and Polly learn that the scientists aboard Montu Station are studying Rate 20, which is a Schwarzschild black hole. He says very knowingly what Schwarzschild black holes are. Yes, I don't know quite what that is. But anyway, they're studying a black hole. And Ben and Polly are given a tour by Commander Novak, whilst the Doctor speaks to Scapinelli and Kajil Su about the possible origins of this black hole and the nature of a starfish-shaped force field found in its orbit. And the Doctor breaks out a tuning fork, which he uses to temporarily deactivate the force field, and speculates that the anti-colours within are to control the black hole. But also these anti-colours manage to leave Scapinelli unconscious.
So after receiving instructions from the Chicxulub Club, which is apparently still going 100 years into the future,
Yeah.
Commander Novak locks down the space station and orders the various nanite robots to wipe out all the humans aboard, repeating the order to those like Trim, who flagged it as anomalous, like, hey, do you really want us to kill everyone? The Doctor saves Scapinelli from Trim using his Muon activator, after which Sue locks Trim in an airlock and then goes in search of Ben and Polly, who escape from an attacking robot which they've named Mrs. Chippy, with Tolman, who's a paleontologist studying the possibility of life on Earth originating from the Kuiper Belt. And a robot breaches the hull, and pressure doors close automatically, trapping Ben, Polly, and Tolman on one side of the breach and the Doctor on the other, so they get separated. And I think a Schwarzschild black hole is perhaps a primordial black hole.
Okay.
Kind of left over from the origins of the solar system or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And there's speculation that there could be an actual, like in real life, like I was going to say a 10th planet, but a 9th planet since, Pluto was demoted to dwarf planet status, or perhaps a microscopic black hole that's affecting a number of different orbits of objects in the Kuiper Belt that scientists have observed. And I think Kate Orman makes reference to this in one of the interviews as she's speaking at the end of this. So it's very much a current astronomy type question that this book gets into.
Yeah. So the Doctor, because of the fact that there's a breach and Ben, Polly, and Tolman are on one side of it and the Doctor is on the other, the Doctor goes for help and finds Scapinelli and Sue ejecting Trim from a barricaded airlock. They all work out that someone is attempting to prevent the scientists aboard Montu Station from investigating the starfish. And so they don't think the starfish is the cause of the robot's attack. And readings detect a speck of radioactive material. And then suddenly Sue is killed, making the Doctor realise that she and Scapinelli must have opened the starfish whilst he was away. And the invisible threat, Scapinelli figures out, is a microscopic black hole.
Which is very dangerous because it can pass within the space of different atoms, but even a microscopic black hole would have the mass of, say, a giant asteroid, or I think they say the size of, or the mass of Mount Everest. So it would mess you up pretty quickly. And so you've got this microscopic black hole just randomly drifting through the space station and through people and through walls and causing all sorts of havoc. So that is the end of part 4. So 2 parts to go. So part 5, the Doctor plans to communicate to this starfish that there is no danger and that it does not need to protect itself, but is unable to do so. And this starfish summons over, which I was picturing as almost like
Starro?
I was thinking of more like a jellyfish, like in Encounter at Farpoint, but
okay,
same sort of deal. But this starfish summons over 30 more microscopic black holes to the station, which starts, just cutting it up like Swiss cheese. And then the Doctor contacts Novak, having deduced that the commander of the station must be responsible for the slaughter. And both the Doctor and Scapinelli try and fail to persuade Novak to put the station in a higher orbit, which would, take it out of the path of these microscopic black holes. Novak refuses to do so, but eventually, after he realizes that his body was impaled by one of these black holes, that he, in his dying breaths, Novak reactivates the station's communications and resets the robots, changes the setting from murder to regular duties. And after which the Doctor and Scapinelli go about trying to change the station's orbit to get them out of danger.
Yeah. Yeah, so speaking of danger, let's check in on Ben, Polly and Tolman. So Mrs. Chippy kills Tolman by ripping out a window. And so Ben and Polly take refuge in a module, donning spacesuits that they learn to use thanks to pneumatic gel, and attaching a bag full of batteries to the wall. And they're also kind of... it's really quite interesting how the audio does it, because like when they're communicating with each other, there's various effects, so you can just hear that they're in spacesuits, and it just sounds that bit more distant. That was really quite effective. So when Mrs. Chippy slices open the module's hull with a laser torch, the batteries that they've attached to the wall explode, and she's apparently destroyed. But in fact she's not. But she attacks without any form of vision after Ben and Polly head out. And Ben tells Polly to get to the observatory whilst he holds Mrs. Chippy back, only for Mrs. Chippy to take the form of a puppy and run away.
So yeah, it's probably a little bit of a flips back in the narrative a little bit, because then Novak sends out the command to the robots
to
retreat.
Yeah. And Ben and Polly are then contacted by the Doctor and head to the power deck to meet him and help change the station's orbit. But the pneumatic gel runs out for Ben, and so Polly has to get him to an airlock.
And the gels also reminded me a little bit of the Golden Age hero Hour Man. And, you take a pill for an hour and you get superpowers. And they wear out or wear off.
Yeah.
So then Polly is kind of stranded outside the station with no memory of how to be an astronaut anymore. And so she's kind of freaking out a little bit. But she's still able to help the Doctor bypass broken controls from outside the station as like her memory is fading away. And the Doctor in turn is able to guide Polly to the airlock and walk her through how to use it, warning her and Ben about the microscopic black holes, which he discovers he's able to track with a Geiger counter and is able to get it back out into space. And Scapinelli decides to return the starfish to Rate Townie's orbit, so around the original black hole they were studying, in hopes that it'll stop all the black holes. But then Scapinelli's spaceship is swallowed by the expanding event horizon, and the Doctor decides to fly the space station into the black hole's event horizon as well. And that is the cliffhanger to part 5.
So let's begin part 6. Inside the black hole, Sister Diophilia, who is a scientist aboard Montu Station, sends out a message threatening to kill Scapinelli and then the Doctor, Ben and Polly for flying the station into the black hole. And that leads Ben to lock the door to the power deck. And the Doctor fights Sister Diophilia for control of the station, which she sends towards Scapinelli's rocket. And Ben and Polly decide to go and find her with Pooley. And Pooley is a robot in the shape of an octopus. And Diophilia, who's been wounded by another robot, believes that Scapinelli is responsible for the robot's slaughter, despite Ben and Polly telling her otherwise. And she destroys the octopus robot before getting into a rocket to ram Scapinelli's rocket. However, Diophilia falls into the singularity faster than light. So, oh well.
And there's reference to there's something or someone that's providing the Doctor like almost like a platform to be safe within the black hole. And I think Sister Diophilia, like she stepped off the edge of that construct and then got sucked into the black hole. And this was a kind of a very bizarre scene where, because you've got like sections repeating where like Polly keeps screaming out at different points and they see like echoes of themselves, and it gets very timey-wimey distortion. There's a painting at one point around this point where Polly's thinking about called Stab Time, which I looked up, and it's an actual real painting, a 1938 oil on canvas painting by the Belgian surrealist René Magritte, which is on permanent display at the Art Institute of Chicago. It depicts a steam engine locomotive suspended coming out of a fireplace, and is better known by its other title, Time Transfixed. So it kind of makes sense that Polly, I guess, might be an art history major. Or there's also a reference to where the doctor's starting to wonder whether or not this black hole was potentially artificially constructed. And there's a subtle callback to the Hand of Omega, and the doctor having knowledge of how to artificially create a black hole as if it's something he's seen before. So that I thought that was kind of a cool moment. And so the doctor then takes a bunch of these different spare parts sitting around the station and is able to create a gravity wave projector or a mass projector in response to a signal that the station had been receiving, apparently from this Rate-Tani black hole that they were originally studying.
Yes.
And then the station, like I said, is kind of stuck on this platform within the black hole where only simple laws of physics apply. And the Dr. Ben, Polly, and Scampanelli all get the feeling that they need to make a big decision and are separated by the universe's fluctuating concepts of distance. And this, again, is where it gets all kind of timey-wimey and confusing.
Yeah.
Although they can only hear one another, despite not being able to find one another for some time.
Yeah.
Polly sees a vision of Rate-Tani, the original black hole, destroying a planet in the Kuiper Belt, and experiences the life of the black hole, like in an instant. Well, Ben is given kind of fast-moving options, almost like a choose-your-own-adventure book, to see like where and how to go, and like what Doctor Strange figuring out in Endgame, like what's the correct path forward. And the Doctor is kind of observing all of this and sees how he needs to rewrite the universe, and Scampanelli gets the knowledge around like how to leave the black hole. So they all kind of get a piece of the puzzle, but not the whole.
Yeah. And also, speaking of pieces of the puzzle, he says into a segue he hasn't really thought out. But isn't it about here that you did say that Polly sees it? I mean, like we get glimpses of future bits of dialogue because like people are hearing folks from the future as well, aren't we? Which was quite clever and Moffat-y again. So Scampanelli is offered a time corridor to take him home, but the doctor convinces Scampanelli not to, and the group are released.
Because that's the time corridor that would have, that's what kind of kicked off this whole thing. Is the establishment of it.
Yeah, and the TARDIS materializes, and the universe's geometry changes, bringing the Doctor, Ben, and Polly together. And Scampanelli, who's been separated from everyone else, decides to stay in the null space with Trim and some of the other robots, and travel outside of the solar system. And the Doctor takes Ben and Polly to Fitzroy Square, landing in 2017, and confirm that they have successfully changed time by preventing the creation of the time corridor. And whilst Ben and Polly go for fish and chips, the Doctor wonders about the Chicxulub Club and the little black holes in the Kuiper Belt, as well as the nature of Rate-Tani, the black hole, and the starfish, because that black hole will one day plunge into Sagittarius A,
which is the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy. So the Doctor's wondering about all of this, doesn't have any answers, but is kind of like contemplating all of this, and that is the end of The Dead Star.
So what did you make of it?
Oh, well, there were bits and pieces I really enjoyed, but I would say overall, this one was a struggle for me. And I'm not sure exactly why, if it was the format in terms of how I was listening to it, or which I don't know, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because I've listened to audio novels before, but I had a hard time retaining, parts of this.
Yeah.
I don't know. What were your kind of initial?
Yeah, so it's interesting you said that because I was also, there were times where I was just wishing that I could read it. Which isn't a reflection on Michael Troughton's narration, because at times it felt quite target novel-y, because like some of the language was kind of like a bit simpler, but also then we do get to some kind of like complex science and timey-wiminess And so you're really having to kind of like to pay attention. And there were a couple of moments where I did have to kind of rewind a bit, and particularly in the closing episodes.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, just to try to kind of like get a bit of a grasp as to what was going on. I do like the fact that we don't really know what Right 20 is. And also, like, the microscopic black holes really are quite sinister. And it's an interesting take on space horror, which kind of like reminds me in a way of like the movie Gravity, in that, yeah, that is fiction set in science as opposed to science fiction. I mean, I think the science of gravity might be a bit more accurate than the science seen here, but still, we don't know for an absolute fact that there are any aliens.
Yeah, the starfish, I think, maybe.
Maybe, but the reason why I thought that there was a revelation about Scapinelli, something told me at the back of my mind that maybe there was a hint that Scapinelli was from another planet, but I might be absolutely wrong on that. I think I'm absolutely wrong on that. But, I mean, I like the fact that it's quite quick moving, and that we move from, you know, the weirdness of 60s London into a kind of like a populated 60s London, and we are going through a whole host of like locations, and it gives it a bit of an epic feel. I wish possibly with Kate Orman, my expectations might be quite high, that we would get into some kind of dark spaces, which I would argue we don't so much here. But also, like, this is her writing a Doctor Who book, having been away for 20 years and having lived life. And also, this is a book that was published 2 years ago, and and the world has gone through pandemics and whatnot. So yeah, maybe she was wanting to write something kind of like epic but also lighter in some shape or form, and in which case that's an absolutely fair thing. It wasn't necessarily what I was expecting, I think.
Yeah, and for me, your comment about like the feeling almost like a Target novel really, I think, hits the nail on the head. It is lacking, I think, some of the emotional depth I was hoping for. Like, we had the reference to Dodo and stuff, but there's no contemplation from Polly or Ben, like, hey, are we in 1960s London somewhere? Do we want to find our future selves? Do we survive our travels with the Doctor? There's really no, they seem very perfunctory, I guess, in terms of their companion roles. Now, granted, Polly is given a lot to do, which is good. And, she has, I think, a bit more agency than she was depicted as having in the TV show. And I think they do work quite well in modern contemporary, for them, London. So it's a good choice of companion and stuff, but it was lacking some of the, going to those dark areas, or just the level of emotional depth that I think some of Kate's other novels featured more prominently. I mean, the most existential angst you get in this one is really comments about like recalcitrance in the face of climate change and extinction events and some of the stuff that the club is going through. And I thought it was kind of odd that they even had the secret society in the 1960s. Like, that feels much more like a Mark Gatiss type thing with like the societal and academic clubs and stuff. And that feels more like a Victorian or Edwardian thing, but I suppose they persist into the 60s and beyond.
So Kate Orman used to have a bit of a reputation for always torturing the Doctor in her novels. And the Doctor doesn't get tortured in here. I don't think there's no real physical trauma that befalls the Doctor, which might be her first book to which that happens. I'm trying to think whether that happens in Blue Box. Maybe it does.
I also kind of felt like there wasn't quite enough story for 6 parts. Like, I feel like it probably would have worked better as a 4-parter. There was a lot of repetition, and like, for example, 4 or 5 of the cliffhangers are all related to various robot attacks.
Yes.
And, at one point they're attacking a door versus attacking a window or attacking Ben. The only cliffhanger that wasn't like that is when the Doctor decided to fly the space station into the event horizon. But that felt a little repetitious for me. And I feel like on paper I should really, really like this one because it's, it's Second Doctor. It's a more obscure companion pairing. It's more hard science. But I feel like, we read The Wheel of Ice by Stephen Baxter, which I liked, I think, a lot more than you did.
Yeah.
But I also liked that a lot more than I liked this one.
Yeah.
And I do think it does fulfill some of the science education remit of, especially 60s Who, with like discussions of black holes and Mavity wells. And but then it kind of goes on a little bit. Like it's like, she goes through like the Kuiper belt and the Oort cloud and dwarf planet classifications. And some of that just seemed like it was going on and on and on.
Yeah. So, what number would you give this if you were to rate it, which I'm going to ask you to do?
I think I'm going to give this one a 4.
Okay.
And I was considering even going lower than that. But
Okay.
it didn't engage me at all. And
Yeah.
it makes me hope that a similar 6-parter, The Space Pirates, never gets found.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe it might be like Enemy of the World, and it'd be kind of like surprising, and
Maybe,
but,
yeah.
yes, yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna give it a 6 because like this is the first Doctor Who audio novel that I think I've ever listened to because I read them. Does tend to be my mechanism of choice, so I might be kind of like cutting it a bit of slack. I think there are interesting things being done, and also, like, certainly of the initial batch of audio novels, I think most of them featured, like, a returning foe. And here, Kate Orman has gone out of her way to create a new foe, and there are mysteries at the end of it, but it's not being teed up for, like, a sequel. So, I think there's some brave choices. I also wonder whether Big Finish said, please just keep it simple, or whether she decided to do so to aim for potentially like a younger audience. Yeah, I'm surprised that I'm giving it more than you.
Yeah, I guess like for me, like the whole opening episode, like I feel like that went on because each episode is like over an hour long. And
Yes.
Having them just exploring deserted London, just kept going on. And there was this weird flashback that Ben had to an officer that died in like a sea boat that came out of nowhere. And there was like this persistent crackling effect used for when they were in the singularity. And I was like, I hope this isn't the entire like 6 parts. I just wish like some of the guest cast was introduced a little bit earlier. It just felt a little the opening felt too claustrophobic for me from that perspective.
Yeah.
And the format, it took a little bit of getting used to, but I feel like I did adjust. And there is at least one more book from this range that I hope that we pick someday. So this may not be, closing the door on the audio novels, so to speak.
No,
but,
no.
Yeah, I'm very glad that Kate came back and did another story. It just, it was pitched a little bit younger than I was expecting.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah, I'm glad she's back, and I hope that she does more, but I also hope she's given the freedom, if she wants to do something darker. But also, though, just like generally, so at the moment, so regular listeners may know that every now and again I kind of like dabble in writing, and somebody was saying to me, oh, why haven't you written something in a while? And I thought, it's because like the world is dark, and I find that I feel that I'm able to write is dark, and I don't want to get into that headspace. So I can understand if someone is wanting to write something lighter.
Yeah, I mean, this does have like people getting eviscerated, like Swiss cheese from black holes. So there's a darkness to it.
There is a darkness. It's not like a societal darkness or a sociological darkness, which is what you sometimes see in like Seeing Eye, for example. You get that. Whereas here you see, the 1960s, there's an optimism. They were able to get those kind of viewing platforms up to try to figure out where the black hole is, and people are able to pull together. Here's a depressing thought. Maybe like you're able to do that more in a story set in the 60s than a story set in the 2020s. I'll leave that thought with you.
Tonally, this like everything set in the 60s reminded me a bit of like the Fantastic Four movie in terms of that optimism and
yeah.
Well, shall we move away from the Dead Star and
Yes, let's do so.
do some listener feedback?
Yes.
Of which our mailbag is overflowing
Yes.
this month.
Yes.
Fun fact about our listen intro, I recently rewatched the X-Files pilot, and when Mulder's messing with the radio, it's the same sound effect that we have,
Oh.
which is also present in the Captain Marvel movie where Agent Coulson is messing with the radio in that, and which makes me wonder, was it originally like on some audio effects CD that was generally used? Because when I was putting this together, I just on YouTube, just looked for a radio static sound effect, and that was the first thing that popped up. And I wonder if whatever Disney employee did that for Captain Marvel, that was the same process they went through. But then to hear it on the X-Files pilot, it was like, oh, it must be even older than that.
Yeah.
Type thing where you'd hear like bridge noises from like the USS Enterprise make their way into like 1970s productions and stuff.
Yeah, it's got to have been something like that, doesn't it?
But anyway, we've got a lot of
yes,
feedback to share.
yes. So we have heard from the Doctor Who show, who said of the monsters inside, it's a novel that makes or the Slovene, etc., feel properly menacing, tough, and violent, rather than cutesy farting pranksters.
I would agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, I don't know. I still could do with a tone down on the farting.
So Helen Price, also commenting about the monsters inside, says, "Love this, and I still have my 9-rose book collection. The Clockwise Man, the first one released, is my favorite one. She actually read them years ago when they first came out."
That's lovely. Keith says of the monsters inside, "Thanks for the podcast. It brought back memories of reading it on a bus on the way home from work in those heady days when the series had returned and was amazingly popular." Yes.
Thank you, Keith. And we've heard from Sean the Mundasian Cyberman, who says he was neverly overly fond of the new series adventures, but he enjoyed the monsters inside.
Wolfman Jack has been in contact with us and encourages us to keep going with the podcast, no matter what world events come our way.
If a primordial black hole walks up, I don't know if we can continue.
Yes. We might also find it to be sweet relief. So Wolfman Jack says, "We're here because we love to hear what you think. Keep talking and we'll keep listening. There's nobody in the universe can do what we're doing." Which was just lovely. So thank you so much, Wolfman Jack. And also says, does Wolfman Jack of the Dead Stars, that Kate Orman is always a delight. I hope you both enjoyed it.
Well,
Yeah.
there were great moments, yeah.
Yes. If you're brave and have a strong stomach, he would recommend Junji Ito's Hellstar Remina, which says it's not for the faint of heart. And it's the rogue black hole idea, but as Lovecraftian horror. And given as I spent a large part of yesterday at a weird fiction event that was going into Lovecraftian horror, maybe I might give that a try.
And I won't, because I do not. I am faint of heart and do not have a strong stomach. We've heard from Luke Mann, who declares that The Monsters Inside is his favorite of the Ninth Doctor books.
And Lim King 13 says they've been listening to episode 103 of the podcast, which makes me feel old. And it says that the answer to my question about which Doctor should meet Winnie the Pooh is the Fur Doctor in a meta Land of Fiction set story. So, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I still like the 12th Doctor Eeyore combination there in the 100 Acre Woods.
Yes.
Fantasy Bookworm says, "Interesting you make the comparison with the alignments of the planets in the Stolen Earth, speaking about the monsters inside. And personally, they say that the Blatherines' plan to teleport the entire Justicia system across space reminds them a bit of the Daleks wanting to pilot the Earth like a spaceship in Dalek Invasion of Earth, which is equally bonkers." And I would agree with that.
Oh, Dalek Invasion of Earth reminds me that at some point I do need to read Simon Gurrier's book about David Whittaker. I did a quick search about Daleks and Bedford because I was in Bedford yesterday for the Lovecraftian horror type thing. And Bedfordshire is where the mines are in the Dalek Invasion of Earth. And Bedford was also where David Whittaker had grown up. And apparently he specifically encouraged Terry Nation, or edited it, so that it was in a location that he knew, because he'd been there during the Second World War when people were trying, I think they were quarrying in Bedford as part of kind of like the war effort and stuff like that. So but yeah, there's an interesting article that I found about it, and it makes me really, really want to get Santa to get me the Simon Gurrier book about David Whittaker. But yes, we have heard from someone who says that they are definitely not the Valeyard. And they say, "Mwah, fools! You have yet to escape me. If the miniature black holes don't destroy you, then you leave me little choice. Arm wrestling now. The both of you. Face me. I shall have your podcast if it's the last thing I do." Further, Matthew, I hope your cold cleared up and you're feeling better today. Do take care of yourself, sir.
Thank you, Brickyard.
Yes, and Chris, thoughts on Peter Capaldi singing with Franz Ferdinand? I thought I'd spoken about that. maybe I hadn't. So I thought I had. I very much enjoyed.
I enjoyed his red sneakers, or whatever his shoes he was wearing. Yeah.
And definitely not the Valeyard says, "When I steal the Doctor's life, I hope to steal his wardrobe." I assume he means Peter Capaldi's wardrobe as opposed to the Doctor's wardrobe. Because Peter Capaldi's wardrobe does seem to be pretty cool. And then, definitely not the Valeyard, changes tack a bit and goes, "Mwahaha, fools! Doomed fools! Until we meet again. Mwahaha."
Well, thank you for that. Speaking of arm wrestling, fun fact,
Yes.
Reading the novelization of Over the Top as a kid, as one does as a child of the 80s, that is how I first learned about the Talking Heads.
Oh, okay. I don't know what Over the Top is, but
Oh, it's a arm wrestling movie with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, okay, fine. Right. Okay.
It's one of those that it's worth watching just from an 80s cheese sort of, if you like movies like Bloodsport and stuff like that.
Right.
In that genre.
Maybe not. Yes, I think I'm as likely to watch that as you are to read the Lovecraftian horror about black holes.
There we go.
But yes.
And then I would also like to congratulate Kenny Smith for reaching issue 200 of Vortex magazine.
Yes.
For a big finish. So congratulations, Kenny, on that milestone.
Yes, absolutely fantastic stuff.
Right, so that brings us to next month. And Chris, it's your pick?
Yes, and I think you know which Doctor it's going to be.
I think so.
Yes, so we are going to be spending some time with the Fourth Doctor. And this is the first time that we've left the Fourth Doctor last, but I hope it's going to be worth it.
We have two more picks after this.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Oh,
so he's not quite list.
Oh, I have completely mucked this up.
Oh no, you're
fine.
You're fine. But I think I get to pick next month between a 5th or 7th Doctor, and then you get whatever I have left over.
Oh, okay, marvelous.
Which you can probably guess which Doctor you're going to be getting.
Yes, yeah, that's that. I'll start looking through the Fifth Doctor novels now. Yes, so we are going to be spending some time with the Fourth Doctor. We're also going to be spending some time with Sarah. And we'll be spending some time with Lord Byron.
Okay.
Because we are going to be experiencing Managra by Stephen Marley.
Oh.
And this was a book that was originally published actually 30 years ago last week. So, and I think it's the only book that Stephen Marley wrote for Doctor Who.
And this is a missing adventure, right?
This is a missing adventure, yes. So, yeah, I am excited and intrigued. I have heard some good things about it. Yeah, I am looking forward to spending some time with Sarah Jane Smith and the Fourth Doctor.
And the only thing I know about this is that the title is an anagram of anagram.
Yes.
Well, and on that note, until next month, this has been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London, happy reading and stay safe.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song Doctor Who theme Swing Jazz version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
Cool.
Excellent.
I may have actually read that book back in the day, but I
Okay.
think I'm conflating it with Theater. Is it Theater of War by Justin Richards? Maybe.
I can understand why you might conflate them. Yes.
Okay. Maybe I haven't read this one.
I think I own it, but I've not actually read it, and I'm not quite sure where my copy is. But I do own it. But yeah, it was one I had been wanting to do for a wee while. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Yeah, and the reason we have the 2 Doctors left over is because I did an extra anthology pick for issue 100.
Ah, yes, yeah.
I will tip my hand now and say, yes, I am picking a 7th Doctor book. So